There are sounds in the universe we expect to hear. Stars collapsing, galaxies colliding, black holes consuming everything around them. But sometimes, the universe sends something different. Something so strange, it forces scientists to question everything they know. And this is one of those moments. Because far beyond our galaxy, NASA detected a signal that should not exist. Not rare, not unusual. Impossible. At first, it looked like a mistake, a glitch in the system, just another false alarm buried in endless data. But it wasn't. And what scientists found next turned a normal observation into one of the greatest cosmic mysteries of our time. It began during a routine deep space scan. Astronomers were tracking the usual events: exploding stars, distant quasars, pulsars spinning through darkness, nothing out of the ordinary. Until suddenly their instruments picked up a burst. Fast, sharp, violent. It lasted only milliseconds, less than a blink. But in that tiny fraction of time, it released more energy than our sun could produce in several days. That alone was enough to shock the team. But the real mystery began when they examined its structure. It didn't match anything. Not pulsars, not quasars, not supernovas. Not even the mysterious fast radio bursts scientists still struggle to explain. Its pattern was different. Too clean, too precise. At first, they assumed interference. Maybe it came from Earth, a satellite, a military signal, solar radiation, microwave noise. Every possibility had to be tested. So they checked the data, again, and again, and again. Same result every time. The signal was real. And then came the detail that changed everything. It wasn't coming from nearby. Not from our solar system. Not even from our galaxy. It was coming from billions of light years away. Think about that. Something unimaginably distant had sent out a pulse strong enough to cross the emptiness of the universe, and somehow, we heard it. That meant one thing. Whatever created it had to be unbelievably powerful. Scientists immediately began comparing it to every known cosmic event: black holes, magnetars, gamma-ray bursts, fast radio bursts. But none of them matched. The frequency shifted in unnatural ways. Its intensity rose and collapsed too sharply, too perfectly. And then there was the timing. It almost felt structured, not random, as if something had control over it. That's when the room changed. Because now this wasn't just another strange space event. This was a mystery. And then came the most chilling discovery of all. When scientists traced the signal back to its origin, they found it was coming from a region of space that should have been silent. Ancient, cold, empty, a dead zone where nothing powerful enough should exist. And yet, something there had spoken. Something hidden in the dark. Something powerful enough to scream across billions of light years. And this was only the beginning. When scientists traced the signal back to its source, the mystery became even stranger. It wasn't coming from an active galaxy, not from an exploding star, not from a black hole consuming matter. It came from a region of space that looked completely dead. Cold, ancient, silent, a place billions of light years away with almost no visible activity. That made no sense, because signals this powerful need energy, massive energy, and this place appeared to have none. Astronomers looked deeper. They mapped nearby stars, searched for hidden objects, scanned for heat signatures, checked for gravitational shifts. Nothing. The region stayed dark, almost empty, like something was missing. Then they found something even stranger. The signal had a pattern. Not words, not a message, but a rhythm, a repeating pulse, precise gaps between bursts, almost like a heartbeat. That changed everything. Because nature is chaotic. Stars explode violently. Black holes feed endlessly. But chaos does not create clean patterns. This felt structured. Scientists compared it to everything they knew. Pulsars were the first guess. They send regular radio pulses, but pulsars are predictable. This signal wasn't. Its energy rose sharply, then collapsed. Unstable, wrong, then came magnetars. Dead stars capable of violent bursts. But even magnetars didn't fit. The timing was off. Too uneven. Too strange. No known object could explain it. That's when an uncomfortable idea entered the room. What if this wasn't natural? Most scientists avoid that question. Not because it's impossible, but because it changes everything. And there was no proof. Not yet. Still, the thought stayed alive, because the deeper they studied the signal, the stranger it became. Its source was isolated, hidden in a dark pocket of the universe, far away from anything powerful enough to create such energy. It was like hearing a scream inside an abandoned city. No movement, no life, no reason. Yet the sound was there. And it was real. Then came another discovery. The signal showed distortion, not random distortion. It looked stretched, bent, as if it had passed near something massive enough to warp space itself. That could mean only one thing: a black hole, a collapsed star, or something humanity has never seen before. And if that was true, this signal wasn't just impossible. It was connected to something far more dangerous. Because in the next phase, scientists uncover hidden structures inside the signal. And what they found made the mystery even darker. By now, the signal had already broken every rule scientists knew, but what they found next made the mystery even darker. They began isolating the signal, breaking it apart piece by piece, studying every pulse, every gap, every shift, and hidden inside it was something unexpected. Structure, not random noise, not chaotic interference. Patterns, repeating formations buried inside the signal itself. The deeper they looked, the more organized it became. Some pulses repeated at exact intervals. Others changed slightly, but followed a sequence. That was disturbing. Because random cosmic events don't follow sequences. Not like this. Scientists compared it to known fast radio bursts. Most of them happen once. A single blast of energy, then silence. But this signal was different. It repeated. Again and again. Not constantly. But enough to prove one thing. This wasn't an accident. Something was generating it. Something still active. Still out there. Astronomers searched for a source, a star, a collapsed remnant, a black hole. Anything, but the region remained empty. Dark, silent, no visible object powerful enough to create this. And yet the pulses kept coming. Then they noticed something even stranger. The timing wasn't perfectly equal. Small delays, tiny shifts. Almost like the source was moving, orbiting something, or being pulled by something massive. That created a new theory. Maybe this wasn't one object. Maybe it was two. Locked together, hidden in darkness. A neutron star and a black hole. Or two collapsed stars. But even that theory had problems. Because the energy was too high, far beyond what those systems usually produce. Whatever this was, it was releasing impossible power, enough to outshine entire stars for a brief moment. Then came the most chilling discovery. Each burst carried tiny changes, small differences in frequency, subtle alterations. Like the signal was changing over time, adapting, evolving. That raised a terrifying possibility. What if this wasn't just a repeating event? What if it was reacting? And if it was, to what? Then scientists found one final detail. Buried deep inside the strongest pulse was another layer. A weaker signal hidden beneath the main burst, almost invisible, like a second voice under the first. And whatever it was, it didn't match anything natural. That's when the investigation changed. Because in the next phase, scientists begin exploring theories, and some of them are more terrifying than the signal itself. By now, the signal had become more than a mystery. It had become a problem, because every answer scientists found only created bigger questions. So they turned to theory. If the signal wasn't normal, then what could it be? The first theory was magnetars, powerful dead stars with magnetic fields so extreme they can release massive bursts of radio energy. It was the closest match, but there was a problem. Magnetars are violent. Chaotic, unstable. This signal was too organized, too clean. Its repeating patterns didn't fit. Then came black holes. Could something orbiting a black hole be creating these pulses? Maybe matter being torn apart. Maybe extreme gravity bending the signal. That explained the distortion. But not the repetition. Not the hidden second layer. It still didn't fit. Then scientists looked at quasars, the brightest objects in the universe, powered by supermassive black holes. They can release impossible amounts of energy, enough to be seen across billions of light years. But quasars are continuous. They don't pulse like this. They don't stop and start. Again, another dead end. That's when the theories became stranger. Some researchers proposed exotic stars, objects made of matter we barely understand. Quark stars, hypothetical remnants denser than neutron stars. If one existed, it could behave in ways never observed before, but no quark star has ever been confirmed. It remained an idea, not proof. Then came the darkest theory, a cosmic collision. Two impossible objects crashing together, a black hole and a magnetar, a neutron star and something unknown. The energy from that kind of event could create bursts unlike anything seen before. But collisions are final. One moment, one explosion. This signal kept returning, and that made it harder to explain. Every theory solved one piece, but broke another. That's what frightened scientists most. Because nature usually leaves clues, patterns, rules, something to follow. But this signal refused to follow any of them. And then one scientist asked a question nobody wanted to say out loud. What if all of these theories are wrong? What if this isn't a natural object at all? That idea changed the room, because once you ask that question, you can't unask it. And in the next phase, we step into the most dangerous theory of all. Could this signal have been artificial? And if it was, who sent it? By this point, scientists had tested every natural explanation, and one by one, they failed. That left only one possibility nobody wanted to touch. What if the signal was artificial? It sounds like science fiction. But in science, impossible doesn't mean ignored. It means investigated. The idea was dangerous, not because it proved anything, but because it opened a door a door no one could easily close. If something created this signal intentionally, it would mean intelligence, not human, not from Earth, something else. Scientists stayed careful. They weren't claiming aliens, not even close. But they had to ask the question, because the signal showed things nature rarely does. Repeated patterns, structured timing, hidden layers, and changing frequencies. It looked less like chaos and more like design. That's when many researchers remembered one of the most famous mysteries in history: the WOW signal. In 1977, astronomers detected a powerful radio burst from deep space. Strong, sudden, unexplained. It lasted 72 seconds, and then vanished forever. To this day, nobody knows what caused it. But this new signal was different. The WOW signal happened once. This one kept returning. That made it far more unsettling. Because repetition means activity, and activity means a source. Some scientists proposed a distant machine, an unknown object generating energy in cycles, not alive, but built, a structure hidden in deep space. Ancient, silent, still working after millions, maybe billions of years. Others suggested something even stranger. A beacon, a signal designed to be found, not aimed at us specifically, but aimed at anyone listening. A marker in the dark, a cosmic lighthouse. But if that were true, who built it and why? That's where science becomes uncomfortable. Because intelligence changes everything. It means we are not the first, not the only, and maybe not the most advanced. Still, most experts remained skeptical. Extraordinary claims need extraordinary proof. And this wasn't proof. Not yet. But the possibility refused to disappear. Because hidden inside the signal was something impossible to ignore. Order, precision, purpose, or at least something that looked like purpose. And then came the most disturbing part. After weeks of observation, the signal suddenly stopped. No warning, no fading, just silence, as if whatever sent it knew it had been heard. And in the next phase, scientists begin searching for it again. But what they found was even stranger than the first signal. The signal was gone. After weeks of repeating bursts, silence, no warning, no gradual fading, it simply stopped. For scientists, that was almost worse than the signal itself, because now they had nothing to follow. No new pulses, no fresh data, just the recordings and the questions. At first, they thought it might return. Maybe it was cycling. Maybe whatever caused it had gone quiet. So they waited. Hours turned into days, days into weeks. Nothing. The sky remained silent. That's when observatories around the world joined the search. The Green Bank Observatory turned its dishes toward the source. The Arecibo Observatory archives were rechecked for older hidden patterns. Even newer deep space arrays scanned the region, all searching for one thing. A second signal, anything. But there was nothing. It was as if the source had disappeared, or gone dark on purpose. Scientists replayed the old data again and again, looking for missed clues. And that's when something strange appeared. Tiny gaps in the signal, not random breaks. Pauses, small silent spaces between pulses. At first, they seemed meaningless, but when measured closely, they formed ratios that matched mathematical patterns. That made the silence itself important, not just the bursts, but the spaces between them, as if the signal was designed that way, like the emptiness carried information too. That idea changed everything. because now the mystery wasn't only about what was sent, but what was missing. And then came another disturbing thought. What if the signal stopped because its job was done? What if it was never meant to repeat forever? Maybe it only needed to be heard once. Maybe the repeating pulses were just enough to get attention, and once it had, it went silent. That possibility unsettled many scientists. Because if the signal had a purpose, then silence might be part of it, not an accident. But a final step. And then, months later, while studying nearby regions around the same coordinates, astronomers found something impossible. A faint new pulse. Not from the same spot, but close. Very close. Close enough to be connected. And in the next phase, that second signal changes the entire mystery. Because now this wasn't one isolated event anymore. Something bigger was happening. Months after the first signal vanished, scientists were still searching. Most believed the mystery had gone cold. Until it happened again. A new pulse. Faint, weak, but real. This time it wasn't coming from the exact same coordinates. It was nearby. Close enough to raise one impossible question. Was it connected? At first, researchers thought it might be coincidence. The universe is full of strange noise, random bursts, chaotic signals. But when they compared the data, the similarities were impossible to ignore. The structure was nearly identical. The same sharp rise in energy, the same sudden collapse, the same strange layered frequencies. Even the silent gaps were there, and once again, those gaps carried mathematical ratios. That changed everything, because now scientists weren't looking at one isolated event. They were looking at two signals, two locations, both impossible, and both following the same pattern. That created a terrifying possibility. This wasn't a single source. It might be a network. Multiple points in space connected somehow, sending the same type of pulse, maybe to each other, maybe to something else. Astronomers mapped the distance between the two signals, billions of miles apart, yet strangely aligned, not random, almost in a straight path, like markers or checkpoints. That idea shook the scientific community, because if the signals were linked, it meant coordination, and coordination means design. Still, scientists searched for natural explanations. Could it be a chain reaction? One event triggering another nearby? A collapsing system? A hidden gravitational link? Possible, but the timing didn't fit. The second pulse came too late, too clean, almost like a response. That word became dangerous. Response, because it implied interaction. And interaction implied awareness. No one wanted to say it. But the thought was there. What if the first signal wasn't alone? What if something answered back? Then came the strangest detail. When they measured the strength of the second signal, it was weaker, much weaker, as if it had traveled farther, or as if it was moving away. That raised an even darker possibility. Whatever was sending these signals wasn't staying still. It was moving, crossing deep space. And if that was true, where was it going? Or worse, where had it already been? In the next phase, scientists uncover a pattern connecting both signals to regions once thought completely dead. And that discovery makes the mystery far bigger than anyone imagined. The second signal changed everything, because now the mystery was no longer isolated. Two signals, two dead regions of space, both impossible, both connected. And the deeper scientists looked, the darker the theories became. At first, they searched for hidden objects, collapsed stars, black holes, anything powerful enough to create such bursts. But once again, the regions looked empty. No visible engines, no natural source, just silence. That's when a disturbing theory began spreading. What if these dead zones weren't empty at all? What if something was there, but invisible? Not invisible because it didn't exist, invisible because we couldn't detect it. Dark matter, one of the greatest mysteries in physics. It makes up most of the universe. Yet we've never seen it directly. Some scientists wondered, could these signals be linked to dark matter interactions? Could hidden structures be buried inside it? If true, it would change everything we know about reality. But there was another theory, even stranger. Ancient machines. Not alive, not biological, but artificial. Structures built so long ago that their creators might be gone. Machines left running in silence, sending signals across the universe. Waiting, watching, that theory sounded impossible. Until astronomers noticed something terrifying. Both signals came from regions near ancient galaxies. Galaxies so old they formed near the beginning of the universe. That meant whatever caused the signals could be unimaginably old. Older than Earth, older than our sun, possibly older than life itself. And if something survived that long, what kind of technology would it be? Then came the most unsettling theory of all. Maybe the signals weren't random. Maybe they were markers, coordinates, a path. Not meant for us, but for something else, something traveling. The alignment between the signals supported it, like breadcrumbs across deep space, a route, a map. That thought terrified many researchers, because if these were markers, then something may still be following them, moving from point to point, across the universe. And if the second signal was weaker because it was farther away, then whatever caused it might already be beyond our reach, or moving closer. That's the part nobody could answer. Closer to where? In the final phase, we confront what NASA still cannot explain, and why this mystery may be far bigger than humanity is ready for. In the end, after years of study, one truth remained. NASA still doesn't know what the signal was. Not fully. They know it was real. They know it came from deep space. They know it carried patterns no one expected. And they know it broke the rules of every normal explanation. That alone makes it one of the strangest mysteries ever recorded. Over time, more observatories joined the search. More data was collected. More theories were tested. But the answers never came. Only more questions. Was it a natural phenomenon we simply don't understand yet? A new type of cosmic object hidden in the dark? A behavior of the universe never seen before? Or something artificial? Something built? Something ancient? Something waiting? That question remains open. And that is what makes it terrifying, because mysteries in science usually shrink with time. This one grew. Every signal, every silence, every hidden pattern. It all pointed toward something larger, something beyond what we can currently explain. And maybe that's the most important part, not the signal itself, but what it reveals about us. For all our technology, for all our knowledge, we have barely scratched the surface of the universe. We map stars, we study galaxies, we listen to the sky. But the universe is older, larger and stranger than anything we can imagine. There are places no human will ever reach, signals we may never understand, truths still buried in darkness. And maybe some of them are not meant to be found. Because if these signals were natural, they reveal physics beyond our understanding. But if they were artificial, they reveal something far bigger, that we are not alone. And if something out there has been sending signals across billions of light years, it may have been doing so long before humanity existed, long before Earth formed, long before the first living thing opened its eyes. That changes everything. Because it means the universe may not be silent. It may simply be speaking in ways we don't yet understand. And somewhere, right now, in the cold dark between galaxies, something may still be transmitting, waiting for someone to listen. Or maybe waiting for someone to answer. And the most unsettling part? One day, we might.